So Capcom has taken a stance against leverless controllers, and I wanted to take some time and talk about this. But I figured now's a good time to talk about this, seeing as Capcom has put out a rule change stating, in anticipation of the 2023 season, Capcom has made the decision to update the Capcom Pro Tour rules in relation to leverless controllers. This was done to address consistency and fairness concerns. This rule change can be viewed on CapcomProTour.com. The complete rules for the season will be available closer to the start of CPT. First, we must define what a leverless controller is. If you use pad, if you were to hit left, the right goes up, and vice versa. Same thing with up and down. You can't hit both directions at the same time. On a stick, if you press your stick to the left, it can't exist any other direction other than left. Leverless controllers do not use any kind of lever or a stick. It uses buttons just as if you were to press like X or square or circle. This is the layout for most leverless controllers, and as you can see, I can hit both the left and the right at the same time. Also, I can hit up and down at the same time. And you might have heard about these controllers under a different name. Most people call them HITBOXes, but like Kleenex is to facial tissues, HITBOX is to a leverless controller. So I think the natural conclusion that people would come to is it's unfair that you get to hit both directions at the same time. Not exactly. There's something called SOCD, or simultaneous cardinal directions. This is how the hitbox will take your inputs and express it in the game. Basically, if you were to hit left and right, you would get neutral. No inputs come out. Now, if you were to hold down and then add the up button, you would get up. They don't cancel each other out. Up will always be the dominant input. Capcom in the past has been okay with the down and up SOCD cleaning. However, now they say it must act like left and right. If you hold down and then hit up, it should return to neutral. There has been a lot of talk over the past few years about whether or not hitboxes or leverless controllers are cheating because of instances like this. Because of the way controllers express inputs, sometimes you get some really goofy shortcuts for really complex inputs. This also allows flash kicks to come out almost perfectly, as you don't have to let go of down. You can hold down back in the defensive position and then hit up and then kick, and you always will get the flash kick. But at the same time, since you're also holding down, you're starting your next charge. On a stick, if you hold down, move up to do the flash kick, you have to return to down to start your next charge. On a hitbox, you just tap the up button and you already start your next charge. And now everyone is going, well, of course, this is cheating. This is an unfair advantage, Kail. There's things that you can do on a hitbox that you can't do on any other controller. Well, not exactly. Remember, DualShocks or pads have the D-pad as well as the analog stick, so guess what? You can also do it on a pad. If you were to hold down back on a pad, flick the analog stick to up, it's the same thing, albeit harder. But if your issue is over the fact that you can do these kind of inputs on a controller, guess what? Pad could have done this the whole time. And you out there who just got into fighting games on PC and you don't have $300 for a controller and you're used to using keyboard, guess what? Your keyboard is a leverless controller. I'm sure you can tell my stance on this. I am not in favor of this ruling, and let me tell you why. Every controller has pros and every controller has cons. And with every control type, you get a different set of skills that might not be available on another controller. I'll give you an example. When I got into Street Fighter 4 in 2009, I used the PlayStation 3 pad. Street Fighter 4 had one frame links, and I had a really hard time getting used to them on pad. But when I swapped over to a fight stick, it was a lot easier for me to do them because I had different options available, like plinking or double tapping. And I was a jury player in Super Street Fighter 4, which means I had to hold down buttons. Guess what? It's kind of hard to do that on a pad. For S and giggles, I actually tried to use a pad in Street Fighter 5 after I got used to an arcade stick and after I got used to hitbox. And there's a few things that I found about pad. Often on hitbox and stick, I'll go to press two buttons at the same time, and instead of getting them at the same time, I will get them 2 frames apart, which means instead of getting a throw, I'll get a light punch. Or instead of getting an EX move, I would get a non-EX move. This went away completely when I use pad, because if I want to throw, I press my thumb on the face buttons, boom. If I want to use V-skill, boom. If I want to use V-trigger, boom. I also found EX moves to be a lot easier because, well, it's one button instead of having to press 3 buttons. Hey, if I was a grappler, guess what? 360s are a little bit easier to do on a pad than they are stick. Not even just a little, like kind of a lot. Chalk it up to my undiagnosed ADHD, but when I play in person, I can't help but just hear everything around me. Part of the things that I can hear is your button presses. I don't mean to, but the information's there. I can hear it. I can't hear anything on a pad. Easy fix. I'll just mod my stick to put silent buttons. But where do you draw the line there? I'm going to mod my controller to get an advantage? Isn't that kind of unfair? You see where I'm going with this. Within reason, you can't really police input devices. If there's any online tournaments, what do? You can't police that. You don't think I remember modding your sticks to put the select button on the face of your stick so that you can plink your light punches with select to get an unfair advantage, right? HITBOX, the most popular leverless controller manufacturer, put a statement out about this, and they read, "Please know we empathize with all of these new concerns and uncertainty for our existing and new customers." Yeah, remember the fact that people bought $300 controllers and now they're being told that they're not usable? This is still a developing situation, which we assure you has our full attention. We are confident that we will be able to provide a solution to our customers that will comply with any changes to rule sets. While Capcom and Street Fighter are an important part of the fighting game community, they do not represent the community as a whole. Community is a hard word for me. The larger tournament community and its leadership has already ruled many times over that the current SOCD resolutions in our controllers are appropriate for tournament play. We stand firmly by and believe in this standard, a standard that was set more than a decade ago, that is still implemented to this day. Up plus down equals up. I know a lot of you will hear this and say, Kail, I still don't think it's fair that they have that advantage. I'm glad it's changed. Brook is the manufacturer for most PCBs and controllers, and the PCB is essentially the brain for a controller. It's the piece where all the wires shoot out to go to the buttons. They put out a firmware update for tournament mode, so essentially you hold the start and select, you plug your controller in, and now your controller is in tournament mode, which will give you the down plus up gives you neutral. So there's already a fix. Hey, you know what? Kudos to them. But here's a problem. The nature of HITBOX means that directions aren't linked to a lever, which means you can hit any buttons you want. This ruling doesn't make leverless controllers more fair, it just makes them different, because with the new rule set, there will be new shortcuts that you can use. And then people will complain about that also. Never mind the fact that there's shortcuts on pad and stick, but whatever. Do you want to know why I switched to HITBOX? 2 reasons. 1, fun. It's actually more fun to play because when I was a kid, I played Mortal Kombat 3 on my compact. It only had 8 megs of RAM, but I could still play it on there. Guess what I played on? I played on a keyboard. And when I played around with emulators for Marvel Superheroes or Street Fighter Alpha, guess what I used? Keyboard. I always found playing on keyboard to be very fun. In fact, I would love to get a mix box because I like the actual keys of a keyboard. The second reason is I'm older. I'm 38. I know I don't look it. Buffering a hit confirm over and over with low forward with jury, guess what? Started to hurt the old wrist. And I know a lot of you out there know what I'm talking about. Sometimes stick could be a little bit grueling on the wrist. And it was nice that I could play longer sessions and not feel the horrible aching pains of upcoming carpal tunnel. And for anyone out there that might have issues with that already, guess what? They no longer have that option to use HITBOX. And there's one last thing I want to talk about, and this is the elephant in the room. Everyone is switching over to leverless controllers and people are doing harder things more consistently. And people might think that they're going to be left in the dust, but guess what? Pad is still really good for any fighting game. Stick is really good for any fighting game. But the thing people don't want to talk about is that there will always be a natural evolution of gaming. Who here is still on a 60 hertz monitor? If you're not on 144 plus, you're at a severe disadvantage. If you're playing Street Fighter V on a PlayStation 4, you're at a disadvantage. The evolution of fighting games and gaming as a whole is play on PC, play on 144 hertz. That is not my opinion. Street Fighter V is best played in that way. If there comes a time where sticks aren't used, guess what? I hate to say it, so long. I love playing on my stick. It's still a lot of fun. However, if the people are going towards something else, the gaming world has to evolve with it, not against it. I know a lot of you will disagree with me, and I'm curious to see what you guys say in the comments section below. I'll be responding to all of them. But I appreciate your ears and I appreciate your eyes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.